See if this works. Hello, lovely. How are you?
Oh, all the better for seeing you.
Oh, so nice to see you. Do you know what I was just thinking? Because I had boob cancer, and obviously you had fanny cancer, and everywhere I go now, I see boobs everywhere, and I'm forever like showing boobs. And then I'm thinking, what would I, if I had cervical cancer, would I be like just flashing fannies all the time?
100%. I totally think whatever thing you've had happen to you, your whole world becomes that. Like, it is pussy non-stop.
It's wall to wall pussy.
It's what it's pussy mania. Look at this.
Oh my god, who's that?
This is Arthur Miller.
Arthur Miller.
Oh, Helen, who's the love of my life. I know this is supposed to be sort of a very,
dark and morbid chat.
Important chat, but I just need to show Arthur. Oh, look, stop it. Look, it's the Pussy Power Company.
I know. Meet
is
my
it a pussy party?
This is a pussy party. It's bring your pussy to this party. And this is Hermione. So when we first got her, the kids called her Harry Potter. Yes. And then we took her to go get her injections. And they were like, you're going to need to rethink it because she's got an innie, not an outie.
An innie, not an outie. So look at that. Oh, is that your cousin Hermione? You famous
this is like show and tell. Bear with me.
This is so perfect. It's so perfect that we're doing a vag chat. Hello, who are you?
This is Willow.
Hello, Willow. Arthur, is that cousin Willow?
This is like the love of my life.
Oh, Arthur's the love of my life. It's quite something, the love you can feel for a pet, isn't it?
I mean, it is through the roof. I didn't think it was possible to love a pet like I love, well, especially the dog now. Oh my God, I can't leave her alone. It's getting quite, I think I need help.
No, you don't need help. You mustn't never ever apologise for being a mad cat or dog person. Honestly, it's just, look at me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, Arthur Miller is just hilarious. Look at that
He's
face.
just everything. He's never done me so proud, I must say. I must say.
Lovely. So I've just been reading an article that you wrote about your journey, your experience. Oh my God, I was howling. It was, I mean...
Do you find it cringe as well when people are like...
I do, but I really like could relate to what you were saying, because you were saying, look, it's totally fine that, but not everybody wants to be public about it, and I completely understand that, and everybody deals with things differently. There's a lot of things, in my life that I just keep private because I'm just quite. But that, I don't know. It's almost my way of dealing with it, like taking it head on and. I don't know, it almost birthed a new thing inside me, and equally like you, I've started doing things that I never thought that I would have done had I not had the cancer bomb dropped royally on me.
Do you think you knew from when you were diagnosed that you were going to be publicly open about it, or did you kind of decide a little while in, or was it kind of your tits screwed and you were like, right, this is how I know I'll handle this situation?
Yeah, do you know what, it was when I started my chemo and my friends were coming to chemo with me, and I would say to them, you do check your boobs, don't you? And the majority of them said, no, don't know what I'm looking for. And it just really got me going that if it could happen to me, I was 39. I mean, you were super young. I was 39. And
I can beat you on that. I was 24. So mine is more of a sob story. Mine's more of a sob.
Are we going to play like Cancer Trump?
Yeah, we are. Yeah. But you had chemo and I didn't. So you won. You had more cancer than me.
I got 100 score on that. You're probably a low 40s for not having chemo. I mean, did you even have it if you didn't have chemo?
Exactly. If I only had major surgery, was it ever even there?
Well, it was 5 hours of surgery.
Oh God, you really have done your homework, haven't you?
I know.
Very good. You're a very good host. You're making me feel very, very welcome.
because I showed you my pussy in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Little club together, isn't it? Yeah, I just I totally hear what you're saying, because it's if we don't talk about it, it doesn't mean we've handled it any worse or any less successfully. I would hate people. I was actually thinking about this as I was putting on a little bit of eyeliner for you, and I was thinking, I wonder. I've got pissy hair in my mouth at home from home. Classic Kaz. I was thinking, like, say someone tunes in now and has seen me talk about having cervical cancer before. I would hate for them to think I'm so conscious. I know lots of people are the same. I'm so conscious about what other people think of me. And I would hate for someone to tune in now and be like, here she goes again. It was ages ago. And she got nothing else to talk about, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. And I feel as well that I repeat a lot of my anecdotes over and over again. But one thing that I have learned, and that in fact a teacher told me once, is that you've got to repeat something a certain number of times before it actually embeds in people's heads. And
that is true. Just as we're saying it over and over again, it doesn't mean it's
exactly. And actually the feedback that I've had, mostly positive, apart from a few interesting people wanting for me to send them pictures of my fucked up tits, which was, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Like, for how much money?
Yeah. Yeah, how much are we talking? No, but I think a lot of people a lot of us have a sort of dark humour about it, and sometimes it's people's way of dealing with it. And if people can laugh at my shit stories, then and it helps them get through it. Because I don't pretend that it was all like, it wasn't all singing, all dancing the whole time through, as I'm sure it wasn't for you. And you
don't want to feel like you're trivializing it, do you?
No, you don't. But equally, whatever it takes to get the message out there. I remember when I was trying to do this, I did this awareness campaign for breast cancer, and I did it on the show that I work on Lorraine, and it was called Change and Check. It's like this. These stickers follow me everywhere. These.
Oh, yes, I know this. Yeah.
So they go on like changing room mirrors in shops and stuff. And during COVID, I was thinking, like, how do I reach more people? Because changing rooms were shut during COVID, but cancer wasn't, in isolation, was it? So I contacted the Royal Mail and I said, you know how you can buy bespoke stamps at Christmas? Could we have one of the Queen made with a pair of boobs? Because I just thought that, that's epic. And then it gets through like 1 million houses. Yeah. And they said, well, it has to go via the royal household, dear, and I don't think Her Majesty is going to approve. So I said, oh, what about a postmark? And so they agreed, and they put it, you see that, on all the posts.
Incredible. That is through the roof.
That's through the roof. That
achievement. Wow.
Imagine what you could do with your fanny power.
Wow, that is incredible. That's such a good idea. That is such a good idea about like cervical screening. That's such a good idea.
As well with cervical, it's harder, dare I say, and I don't want to come under fire from anybody, but it's harder to detect than your boobs. Only that, could it be put off for other things? Because what were your symptoms?
Yeah, I do see why you say that, and we'll preface everything we say with, these are our opinions and blah blah blah, no one shout at us. But yeah, I think I can imagine if somebody is checking their boobs and finds a lump, it's kind of, I have to go to the doctor, I've got a lump in my boob. And I know not all breast cancer, of course, is found via a lump, but let's go with that classic.
A lot are,
yeah. And it's kind of what people think of, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when they imagine if they were to be diagnosed. Yes. And then with cervical, so the thing is, because it's the most common gynae cancer in people under 45. So those are the years where people are, if they have periods where they're menstruating, if they're getting pregnant, it's when they're getting pregnant. If they're taking contraception, it's when they're taking contraception. So there's like, your boobs are just here, and
Yeah.
they kind of either have a lump, have a nipple discharge, or don't have a lump or a nipple discharge.
Yeah.
But you can't see your cervix, first of all, like you can see your boobs, so you can't actually check your cervix. You can just be aware if anything changes. And like, you know, I was back to back in my pill packets at the time because I was on holiday and didn't want to have a bleed. And that's totally safe. If anyone's watching, go for your life, back to back your pill packet. But you know, so when I had a bit of a bleed, I thought, oh, this is because I've taken loads of pill packets in a row, and my body's going, oh, let me have a little bit of a bleed. So I thought nothing of it. It was only when I had sex, and penis and vagina sex, thanks for asking, everyone, and there was blood everywhere. Like, it was bright. It wasn't a brownie discharge. It was like I cut myself. And then I thought, okay, this is not what I thought was a little bleed, you know, because of my pills and that sort of thing. So then I contacted the doctor. And
did it hurt?
No, this is the thing. I was in no pain whatsoever. If I had ignored the pill packet thing, because I was back to back in the packet, which I would have carried on ignoring, I know I would. If I hadn't been having sex at that point in my life, I would have let it go on for ages.
Yeah.
I would have waited at least another couple of months, because I would have let my pill packet thing get back to normal after my holiday. You know, if I wasn't having sex and say, you know, say I wasn't masturbating, so nothing's going up there, everything was outside, I definitely would have not been diagnosed as early as I was. But it shouldn't be. It's sad that because, you know, a shag saved my life.
I mean, does he know that?
Oh, yes. And we
does
don't
he dine out on it?
That's the wrong expression for what we're talking. Cheeky. It's not even 7 o'clock, woman. Does he dine out? Well, he likes that I mention it in a lot of the stories. He's not a very nice person, but that's a very good. If you're just joining, you've missed a good bit. We'll save it, and you can rewind to this moment. But I feel like it's kind of a shame when it comes to gynae stuff. I mean, apart from vulval, because that is external, you know, you can check, and like people should check their boobs. I hope people check their genitals as well, but I know that's so much easier said than done. And
I just don't think that they do. I don't know. I mean, do you?
And it's okay if you don't.
No, exactly.
No, most people. I don't think most people do check their genitals. I wouldn't know what I was looking for. I guess you'd have a look and think, okay, this is my vulva, but so what, sort of thing. Yeah. I think if you have a look, even if it's just once a month, and like take a photo, but honestly, because then when you check the next month, you can say, oh, like that skin area you know, looks a bit like raised or something, or like there's a new sort of swelling to a bit of the labia or something. It's about kind of knowing what your starting point is, what your normal is, and I think that advice applies to everything with your body, doesn't it? You know, if you're suddenly getting new headaches that you didn't have before, or you know, persistent coughs, all that sort of stuff, you've got to get it checked out, haven't you? And like going back to the sort of cervical cancer symptoms, so they're, you know, bleed. So it's the most common gynae cancer in people under 45, and as I said, that's the age where everything's going on down there anyway. And so it's so, and also I want to also preface with, it's always much more likely to be something less serious than gynae/cervical cancer, depending on what we're talking about. So my bleeding between periods and after sex, yes, they're the most common symptoms of cervical cancer. But if you had 10 people in a row that were all under 45 bleeding between periods and after sex, you know, it's not likely that they would have cancer. It's much more likely that it's, you know, due to the contraception, you're on something called cervical erosion that makes the cervix kind of the cells on the inside of the cervix come out, and they're much more delicate, so upon impact they bleed. All that, you know, something that's not pleasant to live with, but something that isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's other things, like I don't know what sort of symptoms endometriosis presents with, but there's some symptoms that I'm sure that could cross over, that could be, you know, something else that still needs treating, but it's not always the big C, is it?
No, it's not always the big C, but I think I kind of think maybe when people delay going to the doctor or don't attend their cervical screening. Also, again, just to preface, I'm covering my arse at every angle, aren't I? But I absolutely understand that people don't go to their cervical screening for so many reasons. Like, there are so many different barriers that stop people from attending, whether you're a survivor to whether you're in a wheelchair. There are so many reasons. But if it's because you're thinking, oh, it will never happen to me, or oh, I don't want to know. I think it's one end or the other. Sometimes people might think, oh, I feel fine, so I don't need to go. In that case, I would really stress it's a screening appointment, you know, it's to check the health of your cervix. It's not to diagnose you with cancer. And yeah, if you've just got a little bit of, you know, cervical abnormalities on your cervix, you're not going to feel poorly. Hello, Willow.
I think she wants to go outside. Go on.
Hey, baby. She agrees with me.
Oh, bless her.
Is she okay?
Oh, she's fine. My husband's just come home, so she wants to go and say hello.
Oh, hello. Right, back to me.
Back to your cervix.
Yes, so people might think, oh, I don't feel ill, so I don't need to go to the doctors. I think we often think we go to the doctors when something's wrong. And I think sometimes it's difficult to get our heads around screening and that it's preventative rather than sort something out. And then the other hand, people see cervical cancer screening, the word cancer, and that can be
off-putting as well.
Quite off-putting as well.
Did you have family history?
No. So womb, and so that out of the 5 gynae cancers, so in order of prevalence, womb, ovarian, cervical, vulval and vaginal. Womb and ovarian cancer have sort of hereditary familial links in a few percent of cases, but cervical, vaginal and vulval don't have correlations to, you know, if your mum had it. So it's obviously sometimes like bad luck that someone's mum might die of cervical cancer and they might get cervical cancer, but that's because a few thousand people get it every year in the UK. It's not because their mum had it, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So so when you went in to have it checked out, so you were 24, right, at the time?
Yeah, so I hadn't had a screening yet.
So did you go and see so you hadn't even had a screening yet?
No, so I was a little bit shy of the screening age, and that is obviously another hot topic, and people feel very passionately about lowering the screening age. And it's a difficult one because I understand why it's 25, because, you know, there are false positives, people are unnecessarily treated, and all of that stuff. You know, Google it if you're listening. I want to know more about that. But you know, I was diagnosed at 24, so if I had a test earlier, my pathway might have been different. But you know, there's never I'm not a common case when it comes to cervical cancer. So whilst, you know, the media love, you know, a young girl talking about her diagnosis, that, you know, it's hot, isn't it, when that's the sort of cancer image that's put out there, but it's not the most common scenario. And I you know, I love that I get to talk about it, but I always want people to know that it's unlikely the exact same thing would happen to them. You know, so so I was too young for a screening. So I had the bleeding. Hello, Arthur, do you come sit with mummy? Okay. So I didn't have the screening, so I had the bleeding. I made a doctor's appointment, and, you know, just said, hello, I'm bleeding. Then they examined me, and she said she can see that the cervix looks quite like angry. And if people don't know, I've got my favourite prop. So when a doctor looks at you through, prop. Oh, I love props so much. It's like Amdram Club. So if you have any type of vaginal examination, a speculum. I've got 3 different sizes. Don't panic. A speculum.
Yeah.
will go in the vagina. And because I learned so much upon my point of diagnosis, I bet you did too.
Oh,
about
me too. Yeah, yeah.
like, you know nothing, and then overnight you're like an expert on everything. I didn't know that the vagina isn't always open, open all hours. Like I thought it was just open, and then a finger, penis, tampon, whatever, just goes in it. But it's closed, and it's things that it opens up when you insert something.
I did not know that.
No, you're not taught that, because you're shown on diagrams like the canal is open, isn't it? Yeah. And they'll do diagrams of like sperm and stuff. Yeah, so it's closed and then opens when, for example, so the speculum is inserted to hold the vagina open.
Right.
So it's not just open all the time. And then what a kind of, if someone's looking through the speculum, they'll look at your cervix. And this isn't to scale, everybody, so don't panic.
Yeah.
So the cervix. What a fun Tuesday we're having. The cervix looks a bit like a donut, and then there's the little gap where sperm can get in, menstrual blood can get out. It's good, isn't it?
I mean,
I know how good this prop is. Love it. Num 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 num. And then so they'll take with a brush a sample of the cells. But when she looked at my cervix, she could see that it was quite red and angry.
Right.
So she knew something was the matter. Again, most likely to be the cervical erosion, ectropion thing I spoke about earlier. But it was enough to get referred for a colposcopy, which is, it's a common appointment really in the grand scheme of things. If anyone has an abnormal screening, they'll go for a colposcopy. It's just basically a clear look at the cervix with a little microscope thing. And then at that appointment, and it is a much closer look. It looks like this sort of size on the TV next to you. So you can just have a good old look if you want to. They don't force you. But it feels the same as a cervical screening because they put the spectrum in. And I just sat down with the woman and she said, it's most likely because of your age and being on the pill, most likely to be the cervical erosion, but we'll just have a look and see, because you're so young. And then she had a look, and like within, oh my God, I mean, it felt like within 10 seconds, but it was probably, she had a little look. And she said, I'm just going to get someone more senior.
Right. And then did you think?
And you think, well, someone more senior doesn't need to come and see this benign little thing that can easily be sorted. And then a man came in like a waistcoat. Right. Oh, and you just think, I've got cancer. I just knew I had cancer.
Were you on your own when you went in?
Yeah, I was on my own because it wasn't meant to be like that. It was supposed to be. I was 24, been on the pill for years. I was having a good old shag. The cervix got a bit angry because of the hormone, the cells coming out onto the outside of the cervix from the inside that are more delicate. That's what it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
I was just supposed to be a good time gal, Helen.
It was not. That was not supposed to be the outcome.
No, that really wasn't. And and he said, they obviously talked to me every step of the way and said, can I have your permission to take a biopsy? So that's a small tissue sample, if people don't know. So took a little something out, and said, you can have a look if you want on the screen. And between like 2 and 3 o'clock, but obviously the reverse for people watching, you could just see this thing. You could just see it. It was like the size of a little date, and it was just there. Right.
So that's the surgery that you had to have that removed.
Yes. So he said, I think I obviously sat down and he said we've got to wait for the results, but I was in bits and said, is it cancer? And I was kind of still thinking it is, but also he'll probably reassure me. And he said, I've been doing this for 30 years and I'd be surprised if this wasn't. And then you think, I'm 24. Like, I'm 24. This is not what is supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen at any age, but when you're that young, you think, oh my God, I'm so young, you know?
And then, so then it was surgery for you then. Was that quite soon?
Yeah, it was about a month or so after that initial appointment. So between then, it was the classic scans to see if it had spread and all of that sort of
The
thing.
worst time, isn't it?
Because you think, well, I didn't feel ill before when I was at the point where I was having sex and bleeding, but it was obviously there then. But I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel poorly. But I've got full-on cancer. So I could well be told I've got a month to live because I don't feel,
Yeah.
I thought I was totally fine. So, oh my God, that honestly, I know. So I was diagnosed at a late stage 1, which I appreciate in the grand scheme of cancer is very, very lucky. So all I had, I know we were playing like cancer off earlier with the treatment, but I had an operation called a radical trachelectomy. So it takes out the whole cervix, the surrounding tissue to obviously test to see if you need further treatment, and like the top third of my vagina. So if it's like that in the body, kind of the sort of top part of the vagina, which I realise is not much compared to what other people like you have gone through. But it's weird because you think, yeah, but also most 24-year-olds haven't had cancer.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Do you sometimes feel like lucky to be here, but then also really unlucky to have had it?
I do.
Yeah.
And I sort of go through times where I feel like I'm looking over my shoulder a bit to think, is it coming back? Because I shouldn't have got it in the first place, statistically.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember my husband saying to me once, like, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm just like, you know what? Fuck off.
But you're like, I've got the bus has come. I'm not going to get hit by a bus.
Yeah, the bus has come for me once already.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's hard mentally to process. And I think when I had my diagnosis, I was very much like, okay, roll my sleeves up, fight or flight. How do we beat this thing?
Yeah.
And it was only after I'd finished my treatment that I found it really a head mash then. Like I was just like, shit, that actually just happened, all that. Did I really just go even now and I look at pictures of me having my you know, chemo and everything, I was like, God, it's like I can't believe all that happened. I can't believe it.
Is that me in that photo? Who's that girl that was? Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
And then you know how Facebook throws up pictures of like this day 4 years ago, and I look at those pictures, I'm like, oh God, I've probably got cancer then as well and didn't know about it.
Yes,
like
I started to look at pre-cancer photos where I obviously had it but didn't know. And you think, I looked at my friend Katie's birthday photos, and that was I had found out but hadn't had treatment at that point, and I looked at that photo and thought, does that look like someone that's got cancer? Does it? I can't tell.
But that is also why it's so important for you to talk as much, you know, about what you went through. Because I know I feel like lots of people talk about breast cancer. You don't hear a lot. And obviously you're a public face as well, that it's just great that you use your platform to, you know, to talk fannies in that respect, because it's, I don't think you can talk about it enough.
Do you find, like, because I know I do, and it's kind of on the sort of talking about it subject, like, it's so selfish, and there's that kind of whole no good deed is not a bit selfish. But when someone messages and said, oh, I read that article or I watched that video and thank you, I've booked my appointment. Oh my, I cry. I have a little tear every single. It's the best feeling in the world when someone just says, "I've booked my appointment. Thank you," and it selfishly makes you feel good and like it's worth it.
I'm sure to you, it's like a whole audience of people standing up, giving a standing ovation. It's that, it's that bonus in your end of month paycheck. That's what it feels like when somebody says they've done that.
Like that message that person sends is the exact same feeling as I get at a stand-up gig when people laugh and clap. It's exactly the same.
And did your diagnosis sort of spur you on to follow that career, or were you doing it already at the time?
Oh no, I didn't dare get on and do stand-up before. I'd done like bits of comedy act, like I'd been a performer. I did a drama degree, of course I did, but I'd always wanted to do stand-up, but thought, I cannot. I'm a funny person. I can't get a microphone, stand in front of 5, 10, 15, 20, 200 people and just do comedy. Are you joking? And then I was like, I could never ever do that, even though I wanted to. And then as soon as I was diagnosed, I remember my friend came to meet me after the appointment, Helen Fisher, and we were walking through. I was at St George's in Tooting, and there's a little M&S food hall, and she was getting married the following February, and I was like the mistress of ceremonies, kind of hosting the wedding. And I remember, like, I just found out. We went to the food because she's like, you need to eat something, because I was, you know, shaky mess and things. And we were in the food aisle, and I said something like, I don't know, like, you better get a replacement for your wedding or something, or something hideous, like, you might have to like wheel me down the aisle. I said something really dark and really horrible, and we just laughed because we just impressed, and it was so funny. And it, yeah, of course, I was crying at the same time, but that little light relief of laughing at the idea of my wig matching my dress or something like. It was just like, you know, she had enough to deal with her getting married, and now her best friend's got cancer, and I didn't know at that point how much cancer I had. And from then on, I thought, oh my God, this can be funny.
Yes.
You know, I just said to myself, if I get through, because again, didn't know what stage it was, so I just made a promise to myself that if I don't die in hospital, I'll see if I die on stage, and who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And if I have a bad gig, obviously I feel crap, and you're like, oh my God, I want the ground to swallow me up. I'm mortified. I'm so untalented. I'm awful. But then you think, oh, it doesn't matter. Just try again. Nothing matters as much.
No, it really doesn't. Do you talk about your experiences on stage?
I used to a lot more. So my first 5 minutes, because when you do stand up, you just get your type 5 ready. You practice and practice and practice, and you're like a little show pony, and then you watch videos of yourself doing your first 5 minutes, and you think that is the worst thing I've ever seen. But you feel like bloody, like Sarah Pascoe. You feel like queen of the world, but actually it's total shit. But it's good enough for you because you just started. So my first 5 minutes was purely about getting cancer, and then you build and build and build and build, and then time passes, doesn't it? And
it does.
You know. And you're someone else other than, you know, you had breast cancer, but you also, you know, are a mum, a whole human, an employee, you know, a creative person. You're your own body and person and soul as well. So I used to talk about it more. I talk about it less over time, but when I do talk about it, I enjoy it.
I think it's healthy though as well that that you take your head out of that space as well. I do try and sort of, you know, have days where I'm not banging the boob drum, because
do you feel like a lot of people's first interaction with you is as the woman whose tits broke?
A lot. Yes.
Yeah,
I suppose I do, but I'm so used to it now. And even something like my kids call me tits as well now, like some of my friends
well, if you can't escape it at home, Helen, then why can you?
I know. I've even got a nice little boob.
Oh, I love it. Well, you're not helping yourself escape it then, are you? You're like, oh, everyone just sees me as the breast cancer lady. You've literally got tits behind you.
Literally everywhere, if I could turn my camera around, everywhere I look, it's just people have sent me things, paraphernalia with boobs on.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
But it's hopefully the biggest and worst thing to happen to you.
Yeah.
So I get why it can define us.
But you work with a charity as well, don't you?
Yes, I work for Eve Appeal.
Who are amazing. So actually, if anybody watches this and wants any advice or support, then definitely contact the Eve Appeal, because they are.
Our information service is, so I'm not a nurse, but I run it with 2 nurses, and it's called Ask Eve. And maybe put it in like the thing when you upload it, but it's if anyone's watching now and wants to write it down, it's nurse@eveappeal.org.uk. But I'm bossing Helen around. She will put it up. And yeah, it's run by me and gynae nurse, and we're always there to answer any type of like gynae cancer worry. If it's from
actually you're on the end of that email.
Yeah, it's my day. comedy is not paying quite enough yet. But I got the job after I was diagnosed. So about a year and a bit after my operation, I started doing this job, and I love it.
Oh my God,
I
that's
absolutely love it.
amazing. I didn't realise that you actually you did that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So day by day, I'm sort of, obviously I don't answer the, medical questions 'cause I'm not a nurse, but lots of the things I can help with and answer, and just someone just wants someone that gets it.
Fanny by day, funny by night. That should be your tagline.
Oh my God, Fanny by day, funny by night. I was going for, what was I going for? Vaginas 24/7 or something, but that is so much better. Fanny by day, funny by night. Let me get a little cape with that stitched on. But yeah, so I guess I'm not really helping myself, am I, by having a day job that's all about it and talking about it at night on stage. So yeah. Oh, someone's
Charlotte.
just put the Ask Eve link. That's great.
That's Charlotte. She's she climbed the O2 with me last October, because obviously the O2 looks like a massive boob. And Charlotte found
to you it does. To you it does.
No, and to Charlotte. And to
Charlotte.
Yeah, and she found her cancer as a result of seeing one of my stickers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well done, hello, Charlotte.
Hello,
You're
Charlotte.
amazing. Were you scared to climb the O2?
No, it's not that. It's not that. No.
It's not that scary. It's not what I'm imagining it.
No. I would like a bungee jump would be worse. Like
fine.
Yeah, it's really not that bad.
It's fine. It's not as like you were like, oh, I can't go to, but also
nail cancer.
Yeah, also in every other area.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, I think we've covered the symptoms, the signs, your journey.
My journey, my experience.
My journey, my experience. And I hope that it's helped people out there. Obviously, it will be posted onto the C-list board there. So if anybody wants to watch it back, that they can. And can always get in touch to the Eve Appeal, which I'll post that as well.
Yeah, we're always there. I'll send you a message. I'll send the email and a message to you. We're really always there.
And thank you so much for your time. You are
thanks for having me.
Brilliant, and I'm gonna follow your comedy as well, because I just think you're absolutely fab.
Thank you for a very nice is an awful word, isn't it? Because it sounds so word. It sounds so insincere, and I mean it nicely. But often doing Instagram lives, I'm hosting, and it's like an expert or someone coming on to talk about something gynae, on the Eve Appeal platform. So it's lovely to kind of not be a patient again, but to be kind of the person that's just, chatting shit about how shit it is. Sometimes it's just we're having a bit of a moan, and we're also not just cancer girls, but it's also the thing that kind of has made / defined us, but we're also other people, but we also want to help, but we're also
I totally get it, and it's just nice to have some. It sort of it normalizes it a little bit.
It's just a bad thing that can sometimes happen to good people.
It's slightly weird that you're waving around some kind of like fanny probe thing.
Yes, of course I am.
Yeah.
Of course I. What else would I? Okay, Arthur, one more
fanny wizard.
Let's say goodbye, Arthur. Thank you, honestly. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
You're an angel. Thanks everyone for watching.
All right, take care.
Bye, darling.
Take care. Bye, guys.